Hey, this is Jimmy Lutz with Old Path Fabrication. As promised, we're going to replace the trunk pan in a 1970 Monte Carlo. The car is approximately 55 years old, so I'm sure it's got plenty of rust and plenty of structure damage that we have to replace. We're going to go through a step-by-step process. Hope you learned something. There's almost that many years experience involved in it. If you could, like, subscribe, comment, and also please enjoy the video. Part 1, the removal and correct structural repair for this operation. The first thing I want to uncover is the ribs. I'll clean those up, but it's not necessarily digging the hole to put the trunk pan in, but it's finding the ribs. I'll cut them ribs back, knock the welds out, pull them back, clean those ribs. The trunk that I do have, I guess it's shipping purposes or whatever, it comes in 3 pieces, which I guess it keeps the shipping down. I can see that and haul it in a different kind of truck if you cut it in 3 pieces, but we'll have to put it back together. But the first thing I want to uncover in here is the ribs. A lot of damage in that reel. Probably have to have a little metal work right here, unfortunately. Let's go on and see what we got. Back, get a little better picture. talk to you a little bit about it. As you see, there's a channel there. There's probably going to be several in there. I would say 5 or 6, something like that. Those channels, you can't cut those channels. I know a lot of the videos that I've started out making, I would speed up certain areas of it, but I want you to know that, you know, you can watch a lot of things and they say, man, they made that in a week, they did this in a week. You're not hardly going to do any major finishing of anything in a week when you're talking about restoration, rust, repair, anything of the sort. It's a process. I can take this and I can speed it up, and you say, man, that's simple. There's, you know, if you don't get your head in it, you won't have much going on. You've got to get some thinking into it. Everything takes time. I could run in here and cut this trunk out and probably lose half the bracing in the trunk. Cost myself a lot of work. Well, what we're going to do now, we're going to find the bracing. We're going to bring the bracing up real nice. Then we're going to start laying the trunk in. So it's going to be a process. It's going to take a little time. Videos might get a little long on this, but if you want to experience or learn how to put a trunk pan in one that may be 50 years old, it would be good to study different techniques and different people. This is how I'm doing it. Main thing is to know what you're getting into. You're getting into something, and if you don't have some skills, you may have to have somebody else to finish it up. And I wouldn't necessarily say skills. I would say motivation, patience, and time. It's going to play a big part in finishing any big project. Everybody wants to build a car, maybe build a car with your son or grandson or something like that. But you've got to show that person something. You can teach a person a lot building a car. You can teach them about patience, perseverance, and stamina, because it's going to take all of that in building that car. That bit out right there. Kind of a bad angle right here. Oh, we're getting volume. Been working on volume. I've been carving on these old cars for about 40 years. And that's what's going to take a little bit of carving. I would just say don't start at 4 or 5 different spots. I'd say get one spot and go to the point of completion on it. You move around. Sometimes you have to move around because you can work in this trunk for 8 hours and say, I don't want to look at it tomorrow. But then you'll move to something, and then what'll happen is it'll start working out in your head. Well, you know, if I did it this way, I did it that way. And then you'll start building it in your sleep, and then you'll have to go back to it. If you're that kind of guy, if you're a car guy. You have to be persistent. You have to keep going. I want to see progress. Right now, I want to see a nice. Thinking our next support, our next cross support. And that support is a real important one to be in good shape because it's sitting right there on your frame mount. Let me see here. Alright, I think the other side of it is this line. Alright, it's going to be guttered like that. I would say we're coming up with a pattern. Those lines give me something to follow. Not only that, I do want to mention one thing about it is if we're cutting it out, we cut out one side at a time because you need symmetry. I think that's what you call it. Just like that. That tells you that this plate, and we got a nice aftermarket plate to go in there so the creases and lines would all be in there. But it would also tell me that these gullies in this plate are going to hit those mounts. It gives me a place for it to set. And also, this part could be wrong. There could be, the big metal piece could be too wide, there could be more than it needs to be. But this is the original. And at this point, this particular vehicle needs to be original. Well, you're just working in the trunk. It's a 50-year-old car. needs to be original. Let me go with this just a little bit further here. See how this reels. All right. That's not too bad. Well, a lot of cleaning up, we'll have something here. This place right here, we're going to go one step at a time. So if we get pulled off and get on something else, we'll have this complete. Because the more you cut out and the less structure you have in it, the more flock you get about your car. If you cut too much out, you got to even build. If you cut too much out, you got to even build a bracing system to keep your body from getting off whack. Now, I do want to correct something I said just a minute ago. I said this is a 50-year-old car. Actually, it's a 55-year-old car. It's a 1970 Monte Carlo. And they weren't made but I think 2 years, maybe 3. If you want to correct me, that's good. But this particular body style was a short run. Because I think it's because the California emissions and different things. This car originally, a certain number of them come out with 454s in them. They were real hopped up. They were supposed to be a luxury sports car, and they were that. They were nice little cruising rides. And even today, if you're building a classic, this would be something to be proud of, because there's not many of these. That's what I would look for, something that was original, unique, and limited, which would make something that would hold its value. Value continue to grow, but you got to make the repairs right. We're going to stop right now and clean this up.
Right in that wheelhouse that I'm looking at right now has to be really clean, because that new piece has a turn down flange right there also that goes in, and it lays down in there between that frame and against that wheelhouse. Have to raise that car up, take that wheel off, pop some holes for the welds in there, because that's where it would naturally be welded for the factory. That would be one of the steps. That's why this has to be so clean in that area. The tool that I'm using there is called a crud thug. It's made for pulling out seam sealer and different things, but it's also good for cleaning rust. It has a wire brush wheel. It has several different types of attachments, but it's a real fine cleaning tool. As you see, it requires a lot of cleaning, but there's a flange that turns down and it actually is going to weld from the underside, but you have to clean that rail off, clean that structure off, cut all that stuff loose. You got to be pretty delicate with it to get it down to where the new piece will go in like factory, and that's what we're looking for through this job. Now we're going to go in here and try to dress it up a little bit. For those that don't know, because that structure, I'm able in this particular situation to use the air chisel to knock those welds loose on those little strips that go across there. If it was a quarter panel or maybe even something that as I hit it with that air hammer, it seemed to be weak and folding, you would use something like a belt sander or something to cut those welds. But if you can, gently, I've got a pressure regulator on that. If you can gently tap it around without destroying it, you can pull most of it off and then turn around and grind those welds off and dress that up. But if you can, you want to use an air chisel simply for time. But if it starts damaging the material, you need to go back and drill your welds, or I'd like to use a small belt sander to take the welds out. But it seems to be working fine with this air chisel on this particular situation because it's structured. Be looking for part 2 of this video, this floor pan replacement. Like, subscribe, or share this video. Comment. Thank you for watching.